Hi there and welcome to this Ibrox, your Sunday session. My name's Scott Patterson. If you're taking time out on this Sunday the 23rd of July at just after 8 o'clock, we thank you for your time. As always, before I get into welcoming the guests for tonight along, a little promotion for our social media accounts. We're available, of course, on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. We're live across, not Instagram, of course, but we're certainly live across here on our YouTube channel, Facebook and Twitter tonight. If you are looking at our YouTube channel, please like, comment and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications on so each time we do go live with a broadcast, you get a notification and you can check us out and see what we're up to. Lots to discuss tonight, not least the news that is broken as the afternoon has went on about Danilo, which we'll come to. Before I do that, I'd like to introduce our two guests tonight. And joining us from Texas in the US of A, it's Craig Hart. Hi, Craig. How are you?
Well, Scott, thanks for having me on. It's been a wee while. Looking forward to it.
Yes, it has been a little while. And joining us, I think the last time you were on, Craig, I think it was the boss that was on with you. Hi, Tommy.
Yeah, what a pairing. What a pairing is what needs to be said. So, yeah, fresh 2 in a row for me as well, having been on yesterday at the live post-match podcast as well. So, hi to you both. Hi to everybody watching.
Can I just ask, Tommy, before we get on to the show tonight, are you warmer tonight than when you were yesterday?
I've got my thermals on. I'm not going to tell you what type of thermals or where they're on. And I've got my Dyson fan and I've got the heater/air conditioner above me as well. So, and I've got a wee tartan blanket across my lap as well. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I might be able to make it through the pod without going for a wee nap.
The positioning of the camera is a godsend, I should add. Let's go on with it then. So tonight, I think, listen, there is lots to talk about, loads to come from loads that came from the game yesterday. Ufeko, Bailey Wright's performing. Ridvan at left back was really good. Kieran Dowell was excellent throughout. Who else? I felt that the front three, as we've seen them, were exciting. I think we'll get to their performance as the night goes on. But first, Tommy, I want to come to you first. It's became apparent this afternoon that the deal for Danilo from Feyenoord, the Brazilian chap, seems to be pushed on that little bit further. Seen various things on social media tonight, and north of 5 million, just shy of 7 million euros. Lots of money per week by all accounts. He's the marquee signing for Scottish football this year, I would add.
Yeah, it definitely is, and he's one that the club of Michael Beale in particular have been after for a while. Really positive about him. Really want to get him in the door. I think as Michael Beale spoke about in his press conference yesterday, post-match, there are other clubs in for him. It wasn't a completely done deal. It does seem to have iterated forward. My understanding is the player wants to come to Rangers, and so it's just about getting the right deal. Let's call it £6 million. Let's say somewhere north of 30,000 a week. It's a cracking signing if we can get him in the door. I don't think there's any doubts about the quality of him. It's just about getting it over the line now, getting him in the door, getting him with the scarf held up and all that kind of good cliche stuff, right? And then seeing him play. But he's definitely one that the club have pushed for, bided their time, been in a bit of a battle with others, and it looks as though they might just have got it over the line now.
Craig, Kieran and I spoke in the podcast last week, and we discussed that I think the support, well, at one point largely just gearing up for getting one of Dessers or Danilo. And I think when Dessers came in the door, I think everyone thought, well, the Brazilian boys obviously went parked for whatever reason. It seems that we are going to be left with both. And this, for me, this transfer window that Michael Beale has had so far points to one of the most exciting in recent times. It's been a really, really good sort of pre-season for him, hasn't it?
It has. It's an overhaul, isn't it? So, it's a big turnover, the longest we've seen, the biggest we've seen in a long time. I'm surprised we're going after Danilo as well as Dessers. But I think with Čolak going out the door, I think before Čolak went, you'd have to say that you're looking to offload before you bring new players in. I think all the early business was done in the transfer window, and it was done early and it was good. And now it's on to who can we move on before we bring someone in type of activity. So, look forward to seeing him holding the scarf up in the air. good one for the jerseys, isn't it? I mean, I think what numbers are left, just having Danilo on the back of Rangers shirt, that's going to sell pretty well, is it not?
Yeah.
All positives, and hopefully we'll see him sooner rather than later.
I think squad numbers is a really fair point. When you bring in a striker, I don't care what anyone says, you often always believe he's going to be your number 9. Dessers has came in and, of course, taken number 9. Is 10 taken for next season? I'm trying to think if that jumps out. Is obviously Dowell took Morelos' number. Lammers took Kent's number. Tommy, you're going to tell me something I can tell.
Well, no, I was just going to say, only number I care about is how many he bangs in.
Absolutely.
To be brutally honest, I'm not entirely sure if 10 is taken or not. Right, to your point, but if he wanted to get number 9, he should have signed sooner.
Yeah.
So there's a lesson for having his agent. When Rangers chap your door, get signed really quickly, you might get the number you're after. But 56, yeah, okay, Darren, that's a very fair shout. You beat me to the punch there as well. I'm just going to mute myself now. Darren beat me to the punch. Damn you, Darren.
Listen, if his name was Bobby Smith, who cares what number he's got? But his name's Danilo, right? It's important. This stuff matters.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. There's something very exciting about bringing in a Brazilian, and I'm aware we've had Brazilians in before. We spoke about this last week. We had Kribari in there, and Emerson was in there as well. Of course, this guy strikes me as being the real deal. Exciting age, exciting pedigree, an exciting signing full stop. And I think it's something that as tomorrow passes, I fully expect us to hear a little bit more about that as time passes.
2 seconds. I just happened to spot in the comments there, I think someone's in calling themselves a Celtic fan, and they're saying there's talk of Danilo taking the 10. Really? Is that somewhere you want to go on this particular pod? I don't think it is. So I wish the Celtic fan, delighted as they are being in this particular chat, all the very best. They get to watch Danilo as well, which is good for Scottish football to be able to watch the type of player that Rangers can bring in. It's
good to know he's got something to do on his Sunday night as well, which I think is
Rangers is for everyone, anyone. So come on.
That's exactly it. Listen, Danilo is coming. I think it's something we're all really, really excited about. I think there will be at least one more. Cifuentes obviously hasn't went away. The boss spoke about him in a bit of depth with an interview to Sky Sports last week. That also sounds like quite an exciting deal to come. So I think this week will be a week when I think we see more people coming in. If 2 more come in, you have to wonder, Tommy, who is going to go out. Where I sit in the ground, the director's box was full of players that weren't involved yesterday, which it made it so obvious how big the squad is. Goldson was in there, injured, I get that. Davis was in there, injured, I get that. Scott Wright was in there, potentially going to Turkey. Ryan Jack was in there. Adam Devine was in there. Kieran Wright, the other goalkeeper, was in there. Leon King was in there. That's not including all the guys that were on the bench for a pre-season friendly, which I think was maybe 10, 11. The squad at this stage of pre-season, Tommy, is absolutely huge, isn't it? People are going to have to go in another direction eventually.
It's a given. And Michael Beale's spoken about that. The squad's too big. As it is right now, without Cifuentes and Danilo coming in the door and a defender, but we'll get to that later on in the pod, I suspect as well. I mean, you're looking at some of those players you've mentioned there. You're looking at the likes of maybe a Hagi, a Barisic. You can take your pick across the squad of who you would be happy to lose or not. Ultimately, a lot of that rests on who we can move on. Yeah, people like Matondo, for example, as well. So it really looks, we absolutely need to move players out the door. That's a given. It then becomes can you move them out at the right price, or are you willing to take a bit of a hit? All of that's driven by somebody actually chatting your door and saying they're willing to take them. And for some players, there might be a wee queue. For others, there might be a lot of selling chat having to come from Rangers to get them over the line.
Yeah, absolutely. It really struck me about how big the squad is. The one thing that got me was that how well we're playing, Craig, almost, not necessarily how well we're playing, it sounds like we've been blowing teams away. We've not been, but there's a real, there seems to be a connectivity among new guys that have arrived. There's a gelling there that I think is something we should be excited about for the next season.
Yeah, I think they've still got a wee bit to go, but you know, the early signs are good. You know, you can see glimpses in yesterday's game of what each player brings. You know, it's early days. It's still early in pre-season, but unfortunately, we need to hit the ground running because, as we'll come on to later, obviously we've got Champions League qualifiers to worry about, and that is financially our bread and butter. So, yes, I like the early signs that I'm seeing, but I think maybe, I don't know if I come on to yesterday's game, but you know, we've still to maybe find their style a wee bit, and certainly get the players acclimated to each other a wee bit more. But I think what you can see immediately with Lammers, Dowell, these guys, is that's quite settled already, and that's a really positive sign. And that, you know, that kudos to the culture that Beale's created, and you know, the type of players he has in the dressing room to welcome them in. So yeah, no, I like what I've seen so far. I still think it's pretty early days.
Yeah, absolutely. Tommy, yesterday was the middle of the 3 pre-season friendlies at Ibrox. Of course, we brought across our friends from Hamburg. One thing I do want to say before we get into the game was that I felt that the obvious relationship between the Rangers fans and the Hamburg fans, which I think everyone knew about before we went to the game. It was really good to see yesterday. I felt the atmosphere at the game was really, really good. I think when you go to pre-season friendlies, you get one or t'other. They can either be pretty dross or the atmosphere can be quite good. I thought the atmosphere was good yesterday, but the game, I don't think, Tommy, was a great deal to write home about, was it?
It wasn't. We were panicking ever so slightly before the after match pod or the reaction pod, because there wasn't a huge amount. Again, pre-season games are what they are, which is just making sure nobody gets injured, getting the fitness levels up, trying different things when it comes to personnel, tactical flexibility, and you know, spoke about that after the match as well. Yeah, in terms of, it's always nice as well for opposition fans, particularly European fans, although the Newcastle fans were exactly the same.
Yeah.
Coming up here, encountering a club and a fan base that are really positive and happy to engage with other people, when there's no kind of partisanship involved. And so they went away with glowing reports, as did the Newcastle fans, as I hope and suspect the Olympiacos fans will as well. They also spoke about the facilities that we had. So yeah, it's great to do that. We also saw the videos from Edison House. It was a party atmosphere. The game was a wee bit niggly, actually. I think Hamburg got a little bit frustrated that they couldn't do anything against us. They were trying, but I mean, they had a couple of decent moves in the first half, scored a cracker of a free kick at the death, right? But by and large, I think Rangers contained them without going all the way through the gears or breaking a lot of sweat. And that was translated into a few wee niggly fouls. Hadji was involved in a couple of that. Ridvan as well, Cantwell. There was just a wee bit of a growing tenseness from Hamburg. But yeah, overall, nobody got injured. People got a run out. Some players got maybe scouts to be able to watch them as well and see what their fitness levels are. Yeah, it ties up everything, working towards Olympiacos, working towards the CL qualifiers. So yeah, all good so far.
Craig, one of the guys in the group, Gavin, suggested when the team lineups were announced, of course, Rangers went with Butland, Tav, Balogun, Davies and Ridvan. Midfield of Raskin, Dowell and Hadji, which I thought was a really, really exciting midfield, I have to say. And a front three, and that's what we're going to go to next. Front three of Sima, Matondo and Sakala. So no number 9s in there as far as I'm concerned. But Gavin did refer to them having wheels. I hope referring to the pace that he obviously knew that they had. The game itself, I didn't think went that great for them. I know Sakala scored, but I felt that we probably need to see a bit more for these guys if they're going to be not first picks for this season, but maybe serious contenders for starting jersey, more so if we're bringing Danilo Pereira in this season.
Yeah, where do I start? I mean, the pace up front was, that's relentless pace when you look at Matondo, Sakala and Sima. There was no real focal point we're used to talking about this. Alfredo Morelos, kind of put us in this culture of having a focal point, the way we play. I think that's how Beale wants to play. But again, Dessers came on for the last 20 minutes, half an hour, I can't remember. And we're still trying to sign Danilo. So I thought individually, again, you could see glimpses of what each player could offer. Fashion was arguably, our biggest threat. I know it's easy to say that he scored, but he was involved in a lot and he looked the most dangerous. But we're not going to learn anything about Fashion over a season. We know what he's going to bring. With Sima, you can see his pace, big, tall lad, quick over the first few yards, can beat a defender onto a ball. So I'd see him more of an out wide role. Matondo, hope there was scouts at the game. The midfield, I like that blend. Raskin, just industrious, Dowell even more so, and really physical. And Hadji with the creativeness. Thought Hadji missed a really good chance in the first half. Could have had a goal. Great first touch, poor finish. So it was a nice blend. It'll be interesting to see, how that peters out as we go into the real business end of the season. So, forgot what your original question was, but that's kind of my summary of the front line. The defence, I don't know. Davies, I'm still not too convinced about. I might have bought a ticket on board the John Lee Ufeco train. You'll have to ask me when we come to it. But the game was, we set up two different teams essentially in each half. So it shows you the size of the squad and it shows the experimentation that Beale's still trying to conduct at this point in time, early days. But all positive if you ask me.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think we're seeing a couple of comments coming in the chat referring, Tommy, to Sakala, who of course scored the goal that got us off and running. The Hamburg centre half gets involved in a bit of guddle after being chased down by Dowell, and Sakala sort of, I don't want to say places it by the goalkeeper, but he's in the right place at the right time and manages to get it by the keeper. Anyone that watches the pod is probably aware by now where I stand on Sakala, but there are certainly comments that are coming out. I've flashed some in from Aldo and Cubby, I think, that says that it would be ridiculous. I think one of them suggested that they're ridiculous to move him on. I'm just on that. I'm probably on that technical. I hate referring to trains, but I'm on the technical train. Is that I don't think technically he's as good as what we need moving forward. Tommy, how did you think he done yesterday?
First of all, what is it with you lot in trains?
Not where it comes from.
Bafflingly odd. First it was Kyle yesterday, now it's Craig and you. I'm
just echoing what Kyle said.
I know exactly what you were doing, right? But this has to stop, right? All this train nonsense, right? It's just right. Anyway, getting back on track. There you go. There's my attempt at a train pun, right? Sure. Everybody can have that, right? It's free of charge at this point in time. Listen, Sakala is one of those conundrums personified, if you like, right? Which is, I'm not a massive fan of him, but there's a guy who's in the right place. He muscles in well there, and he scores the goal. He wins the penalty. He creates chaos up front. He gets decent numbers coming off the bench. He's relatively low rent in and around the squad. You don't hear bad stories necessarily about him. Trains hard, good personality. If somebody came with a decent offer, I'd probably want to sell him. But he's maybe not one that I'd stick on we need to get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
Right now, because he's going to do a job for you in domestic games, maybe in European games. I'm not entirely convinced, but certainly in domestic games for you because his numbers are reasonable. So there's definitely other ones that I would look to get rid of out of the squad first, before I would start to say, right, Sakala, pack your bags. Unless, like I said, there was a decent offer coming in. He does a job. He is a squad player. The frustration maybe that everybody feels is he doesn't seem, he's at a fair age, right? He's not going to develop into a totally different player. You're always going to get that level of inconsistency, and that breeds frustration. He might stick it in the top corner. He might hit several of the stewards. It might land in my back garden. All of the above in the space of 3 minutes, essentially. You know what I mean? But Again, I don't want to duplicate overly. He's low rent, he's low cost, gets decent numbers, sits in the squad. You're moving out the likes of Scott Wright and all that. Maybe you keep Sakala unless there's some decent check posted through you. Well, Scott appears to have been frozen because he's no doubt watching a train pass by or something like that. I mean, I'll quickly grab the mic again, and I suppose my question back to you and maybe the listeners as well is, what do you think Sakala's worth, and or who's better than him numbers wise right now? Would you keep Scott Wright instead of Sakala? There's a question that I put to you both and the listeners as well.
Wow. See, I think that's quite a good one, because the one thing I think that there's always an argument, I think, Craig, for keeping Scott Wright because of the European quota. And I appreciate that's probably no reason to keep a player. However, in Scott Wright's case, it's something that he's always going to have against Fashion Sakala, is that he's a Scotsman, and when it comes to that quota of homegrown and trained players, he's someone that you could have in there. I don't know, where do you, and I don't want this to turn, it's really important that this doesn't turn into a Sakala bashing session. I don't want that to, I don't want it to get to that stage. He scored yesterday, got us off and running. Indeed, I just think that come the Kilmarnock game, I think we need to be quite sure that we've got enough to start the game and to win the game without almost needing Fashion Sakala, as harsh as that may sound.
I think it's a long season. If you want to make the direct comparison, which I think is irrelevant anyway, it looks like Wright's gone, right? But I would say that Sakala has an end product and Wright doesn't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and my old man lovingly referred to Sakala's playing style as Animal out the Muppets, and he's just a loose cannon, and but he shows flashes of quality, and then he shows large spells of inconsistency. So great squad player that can come on and get numbers. We've seen that, and I said earlier, I don't think we're going to learn anything new about Fashion Sakala. But like what Tommy alluded to, I wouldn't be aiming to offload him off the books. I think there's players ahead of him in that list. So I'm fine with keeping him as a squad player, but we need more quality in the starting 11. I don't want to see him starting against Kilmarnock, as you said. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
No, I think you're right. And Craig, you referred to Matondo as well, who I didn't think he didn't have a great game again yesterday. I think, brutally honest with you, since West Ham last pre-season, he's just not looked at it, and I just don't think he's going to do for the season. He, I think, would be one of the guys at the top of the list who you would look to move on, but the obvious argument, Craig, is that someone has to come in with an offer to take him away.
That's it, and that's a problem that we need to address. You know, Ross Wilson pulled off a couple of magnificent sales to kind of get the ball rolling, but the ball stopped rolling already. We need to get value for our players. You know, Rangers is a hard club to come and succeed at. It doesn't make you a bad player if you're not a success with Rangers. It really takes all the stars to align for it to work out here. The demands are so high, and the weight of the jersey is massive. So Scott Wright's a good player. You know, must be the best player in training. That type of player. Really quick, shows glimpses of what he can do, just no end product. But maybe he can go on and have a great career somewhere else. And I think there's value. I think £500,000 a steal for a player of his caliber. So we need to do a better job at evaluating our players and getting value in return. Just because it didn't work out at Rangers doesn't mean they don't have value and can go and be a success elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think
Tommy, one guy who really...
Sorry, I just think there's just maybe an additional wrap up to that as well, which is it isn't a nice place to be able to say, right, these are players that we can afford to lose now because we brought in a substantially higher level of quality in your likes of, you know, Dessers, Lammers, you know, even if we go back to last season, Cantwell, Raskin, etc., the squad is on the uptick in terms of quality getting pulled in, and that's before you add in Cifuentes and Danilo and maybe any others. It's not only is it good to be talking about those players in terms of they can go, but also that we've got players that are ready made to drop into the 11.
Okay.
And I think that's maybe something we shouldn't walk past. The level of quality that's been brought in a fairly short order this post-season is impressive. It bodes well, and we look forward to watching them and seeing this team grow. We shouldn't walk past, however, that it's a long season and some squad players will be needed, even for some of the lower games or whatever. So when we say, let's lose a Matondo, let's lose a Wright, let's lose a Sakala, okay, but remember, it's a long season, injuries can happen, suspensions can happen, dips in form can happen, and that's when guys like Sakala, etc., who get a reasonably decent domestic record, can step in. So yeah, whilst we want to see some of them go out the door, we need to play some of that longer game as well. You don't want to. Yes, we need to trim the squad. You don't want to cut it to the bone, because we've seen what that's like when you get a few injuries at the back. For example, we've suffered from that centre halves. So yeah, it's a bit of a balancing. And again, I don't think many teams are battering down the door to get some of these players. So they may stick around longer than some people want.
Gary, I think it's Patton or Peyton. I apologise, Gary. He's watching us on Facebook tonight. How good is Raskin doing? The wee man seems to be getting better as game goes on. Tommy, I thought again, we got 45 minutes or so against Newcastle from him, and he came on and he just done everything from a midfielder perspective as far as I was concerned. Really impressed with him again yesterday. I felt he showed small elements of frustration with some of the players around him, and maybe the level of awareness that he was at. But yesterday I thought it was really, really, really good, wasn't it?
It was. I think it's Patton, same spelling as George S. Patton, the American general.
Yeah.
I think. I'm sure we'll get corrected if that's incorrect, Gary, but it looks like Patton to me. Yeah, and I've said this before about Nico Raskin, that I like the way that he's able to read the game.
Yeah.
And his ability in tight spots and his ability to bust forward with the ball as well is going to be absolutely fundamentally key to us in that middle of the park. It was nice to see Dowell in alongside them. It was a really compatible pairing. Interesting to see what happens. We started yesterday with Hadji out on the right, and that kind of 4-3-3 as we were lining up at one stage. I'm not entirely sure that I said this, that Hadji worked. Would you see a Lundstrom out there, a Jack, or whatever? How does that three start to pin and move? What do you do with Cantwell? Obviously, come in as well. So there's a bit of a mixture there. Again, that's a good thing. We know that midfield has been a problem for us, and we've been overrun against some teams last season, etc. So we've definitely done something there. With specific reference to Nico Raskin, I think he's a fabulous, fabulous player who will just get better and better and better, and will do well to continue to hold on to him if he ever performs for us and for Belgium as well. But yeah, his reading of the game can't be overstated. He steps into the space really early, and like I said, he's not just a take one touch and play it simply, although he can. He's quite happy to take it in a tight spot, go past somebody before you know it, you've travelled 30 yards up the park, and you're starting to build attacks. If we're getting that from our midfielders, that is a step change from where we've been, which has been fairly plodding in the midfield, and that starts to unlock people like Lammers, Dessers, Danilo, Cantwell, all these types of people up top. And that's going to be the exciting part at the top of the pitch.
Craig, I think Aldo McNaught absolutely smashes it. His focus is like a street sweeper, which I really like that description of him. That sort of tenacity, the harrying of the ball all the time. I mean, we're talking about 2 pre-season friendlies, and everyone largely believes that these pre-season friendlies are for players to get up to a standard of fitness. You'd never want to say they go through the motions, but he plays so competitively, regardless of what the contest is. And I think that's something that I think the Rangers fans instantly get and cling on to. He's a really important player for us and will be this season.
Yeah, he stuck out again. I think, you know, his involvement in the summer for the Belgian under-21s has helped him maintain his fitness levels. So I think first and foremost he stands out from the rest. That almost looks like he doesn't even need a pre-season. You know, he's already firing. But I just like how mobile he is. Him and Dowell are very mobile, as opposed to, you know, the old guard of Lundstrom and Jack and Kamara sitting. That three that he started with, I know Hadji's maybe got a wee bit March sharpness to come, but I like the thinking of that blend. And I like how mobile and Raskin just epitomizes it. And you just feel so confident as a fan base watching the team when Raskin's in there versus when he's not. He had his quality. So yeah, he's been a standout for me. I think he's our best player at the moment. So yeah, I agree with you, Scott. I don't think we'll do well to hold on to him should he perform like that on the bigger stages, hopefully in the Champions League. And but like I alluded to earlier, if someone wants him, pay up. You know what I mean? Because I think he's a star in the making, and will definitely not be his last stop. He'll move on to an even higher level. I think that's how good he is.
Marky 21 Cop, love it. Has got involved in the chat. There was a moment in the first half, and it led to Kieran Dowell having a really good chance, and indeed the Hamburg goalkeeper pulling off a really excellent save, where Raskin took the ball and opened himself up and took 4 Hamburg players right out of the game and played half down the line. And Marky refers to his intelligence as a midfielder. Tommy, I think we often crave, and we refer to Barry Ferguson previously as being so intelligent, etc., on the football pitch. And we need a player to play in that role, which allows everyone else ahead of him to almost do as they please. But if you've got a back four and a really intelligent chap there ahead of the back four, things should be okay for you. I think Raskin, I just think he's going to be so important for us this year.
Yeah, I don't think anything in there is controversial. I think everybody's got the same playbook here, which is Nico Raskin will be incredibly important to Rangers this season and for as long as we can hold on to him. And that caveat shouldn't be a negative, right? Yeah. Part of the player trading model is get players in who are able to develop, increase their price, and then we sell them on, and we reinvest that within the squad. But that's thinking way ahead. Right now he's got a job to do, which is to continue to progress, continue to perform for Rangers, and help drive the team to do something this season. But all the indicators are he is a fantastic player. I really like watching him. And again, I'm not going to duplicate what I just said a moment ago, but his ability to read the game cannot be overstated. His ability to burst past, to call it breaking the lines if you want, stepping through. His passing is actually pretty good as well. It's not just about running with the ball, but he's comfortable across all of that. Doesn't shirk a challenge. Is able to get involved with that type of stuff as well. It's added drive to an area where we did not have drive before, right? With the best will in the world, to your Lundstroms, to your Kamaras, your Jacks, etc., they were not busting beyond. Maybe give the likes of Arfield a wee bit of a knock there as well, in terms of they were able to get beyond right, but maybe not naturally at centre mids. But in terms of where we are now, you could look at a Dowell, you could look at a Raskin. Not only are they able to take players out, read the game, stop attacks, they can bust beyond, and then they're willing to have the odd shot. I think I'm not really willing to put money on it, but I reckon Dowell might get more than Raskin. I don't think he's a natural goal scorer, but that's neither here nor there. If you are stepping beyond 4 players, 3 players, 2 players, whatever, particularly in these tighter games domestically where we're up against these banks, and you've got people who are not just going to slowly move the ball without taking a risk, who can actually unlock with movement and taking the ball with them. We've been crying out for that. We're seeing it in front of us. It just needs to get carried on, and I absolutely reckon it will. He is absolutely central, and we just hope that he stays fit and is able to see the season through.
Rangers took the lead just before half-time. It was Clancy that was the ref yesterday, wasn't it? Kevin Clancy was, yeah. Unsurprisingly, of course, gave us a penalty. at Ibrox, which we were delighted about, and James Tavernier in his 8th year at Rangers put us 2-0 up. 8 years he's been around, which surprised me. It feels like less than that, to be perfectly honest with you. He put us 2-0 up. Second half was one of the classic second halves, Tommy, you know what I mean? Loads of substitutions, loads of freshening up. In the end, Sam Lammers got man of the match, and he played the second 45. Technically looks excellent. And depending on how Michael Beale will line up in each competition, I think next year, all things being well, we'll be competing in 4. Lammers is going to be really important as to how we look to play, whether we're playing with one man behind a 9, whether that's Danilo, although it won't be 9. But I think he can also play narrow as one of these inside forwards. He looks an exciting prospect for this season.
He does, and I'm with you in terms of his technical ability. Back to goal, defender on him. He's quite good at taking it in, moving it on, and that'll get better and better as well. Michael Beale spoke in the press conference downstairs after the game about we finished with Lammers playing behind Dessers. That's what he wanted to see. So it was a bit of a change of personnel, but also a change in style of play, which is something that's really important for pre-season, but also really important for how we're going to perform this season, that we've got tactical flexibility. We can try different things in-game, and it comes off. Interesting to see what Danilo might look like when he comes in there as well. But yeah, he wanted to see that Dessers-Lammers partnership, and relatively worked. It's obviously growing, right? It's really, really, really early days, but Lammers certainly looks like a guy who isn't afraid to, come deep, can hold it up, can move it on. I think I referenced this in the pod yesterday as well, that there was a moment, it was late on, 87, 86 minute, whatever, right? And he was in the middle of the park, let's say, right? A little bit closer to Hamburg's goal, but takes the ball in, defender on his back, brings it in, moves it out wide, continues the run, gets into the box, takes the ball again, gets a shot away. I think it just trickles by the far post or whatever, right? But he's got a bit of pace, can get the run in there, and is willing to, as I said, move it off, having come deep, and then do the legwork to get into the box. All of those things are exactly what you're looking at from an attitude perspective as well. He's not just happy popping it off in the middle of the park. I'm sitting deep. I'm not going to get in there. What we'll probably see is our opposition's box getting overloaded with our players come this season, which again is something that Michael Beale had spoken about last season, and we all knew as fans we weren't getting enough players into the box. We weren't, stacking it up. We weren't getting on the end of things. We weren't making it difficult for teams. I think you'll see a lot of a different potential now when you've got the likes of Lammers, you've got Cantwell, you've got Dowell, maybe you've got Raskin, you've got whoever's playing out wide, you've got Dessers, you've got Danilo, whatever, Cifuentes. They can all get into the box. They can all score goals. And again, the manager was talking about there was 3, 4, 5 players in his mind who should be looking at double figures this season. I would expect he's looking at the midfielders as well and saying, right, I'm really looking forward to you chipping in. And Lammers, absolutely, he's already spoken. He's here to score goals. He's not just there to sit deep and pop it off.
Yeah. Craig, second half, as far as chances are concerned for Rangers, Sima misses probably a chance that he should do better with. Cantwell hits the bar with a header from about 18 yards. It's probably the only thing he's not been able to do since he came up, to be perfectly fair, is score for a header for there. And Dessers really forces a really good save out the Hamburg goalkeeper on the rebound. Highlight of the second half, I have to say, was the free kick that the Hamburg guys scored at the end. An absolute wonderful effort to make it 2-1. It finished 2-1. It was some free kick. What an effort it was.
Dombey, I think his name was. And he was having a cracking game as well. That half, he was a real standout. He gave Tavernier a hard time, and then as soon as Tavernier came off for was it Lawrence, I think Lundstrom dropped into right back, and he had the better of him at right back, that's for sure. But what a hit! Some free kick, just sweet, great goal. I thought that was the standout couple of chances for us in the second half, with Sima's one at the back post, and then was it Lammers that laid it down? Was it a decent layup? And then the one that hit the bar, and Dessers kind of read that pretty well. It was a good effort, good save, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't really see too much of Dessers, really. Very, very small glimpses of him, but looks like good stature of a striker, like all the physicality, physical attributes of all the new signings. I think that's something I was crying out for in one of the last pods I did. Was a bit more physical presence in the team. So that was really positive. I think Hamburg were quite physical in general. You can tell they're ready to start their season. They certainly put themselves about, and so we matched them quite well. I thought we competed really well physically, which was nice to see. But yeah, all in all, it very much had the feel of a pre-season game. Let's be honest. A lot of changes, so you learn small things about individual players. I wouldn't take the game too out of context. It was a good run out. The result's really irrelevant, isn't it? But yeah, positives. I thought we created a lot of chances. Maybe should have scored one or two more. But yeah, all positives at this point in time. Eyes are firmly on the transfer window.
Yeah. Tommy, I think the last two games have given us a glimpse of two young guys at Rangers who we've known about as being there, but perhaps not known just how good they are, if they can handle that cauldron of playing at Ibrox, if you want. John Lee Ufeku and Bailey Rice. I think Michael Beale maybe pricked up a few ears yesterday when he indicated that as far as Ufeku is concerned, he's really given him some food for thought as far as whether he really needs to bring in an additional centre-half at this stage. We've heard of Panzo and Trusty linked in the past 4, 5, 6 weeks. Ufeku's really put himself into that positioning, as far as I'm concerned. Played the full second half yesterday. Aggressive, left-sided.
I'm going to say that I pretty much understand the question, even though Scott's determined to make it difficult for me by cutting it into pieces, which is really nice of him. But yeah, and Michael Beale spoke about this. We knew that we were looking at a defender, another defender on top of Sterling, who's already come in. Ufeku, yeah, he's done well enough. You get mixed reports actually last season from the B team and people who were plugged into that. But it's all about taking chances. He's certainly got the physique, and I thought he looked okay second half yesterday. Yeah. It is a friendly. You can't really tell anything until you see a player in a competitive environment. And if Michael Beale is now saying he's seeing him in training, he's seen him in the friendly environment, he's seen him round about the first team squad, he's given me something to think about rather than spending money. Well, it's a big pat in the back for John Lee Ufeku, but if that's the manager's call, that's the manager's call. I personally think that I think we will actually end up going for somebody else. I think Ufeku will be round about the first team squad. It might just be a tad early. Would I be overly worried if it was, him instead of anybody else coming in? Yeah, that's fine for me. I mean, I'm interested in terms of the listeners again, and Craig yourself. It's always try to balance this, especially with young guys. I think Ufeku's 19, 20 or whatever. You don't want to put too much pressure on them. But Michael Beale's quoted them as well. They are, but the boy's still got a lot to learn, and he's, we maybe shouldn't just think he's the second coming or anything like that just yet and ready for a run of first team football.
I feel like Kyle was alluding to the second coming, wasn't he? He didn't want to admit it, but I could see it written all over his face yesterday in that gantry. Since our host has departed, I'll jump in, but I would like to see another defender, Tommy, if I'm being honest. I'm not entirely convinced about Ben Davies. I'm not sure the temperature of the fans on that one. He's neither here nor there. There's nothing really to get excited about. Sometimes he looks very composed and reads the game very well, and sometimes he gets maybe caught out in situations where he shouldn't get caught out. I think if we can move him on, and I'm not sure Beale is looking to move him on, he might be, but if we could move him on, that gives us, the funds to be able to bring someone in, replace. But I think we're looking at a left-sided defender, right? Would be ideal because you've got Sterling. Still unsure if he's a centre-half or a right-back. We're looking forward to seeing him when he returns. But Yeah, I'll be honest. I would rather see us go back in the transfer market for a solid left-sided defender, established one as well, not a young up-and-comer, an established central defender that can come into the starting 11. But I thought Ufeko played very well. Physically, he's there, isn't he? He's big lad. Looked very composed, very comfortable. Looks like he read the game really well. Wasn't really physically tested though, was he? So I need to see a lot more of him to see if what he's like in a physical battle with a big striker. But again, another positive. 20-year-old. I went and checked on the roster yesterday after the game. 20 years old. So yeah, don't know if I'm on the train. Sorry again, Tommy, but one to watch for sure. One to watch.
Well, that's it, and we know the likes of Panzo has been mentioned as well. I'm probably with you actually when it comes down to it. I think we'll go back into the market. Maybe some of that, as you say, will be driven if we move a defender out, and Davies. I think you're right. I think a lot of people have turned on Davies, and I still think he's a reasonably good defender. Actually, I think he's a bit hesitant, and there was some of that yesterday actually, where you think just go into somebody. But he's definitely decent on the ball as well. Ultimately, as you say, it's no bad thing to have up and coming players from the academy pushing their way into the first team, even if they're just roundabout. And you've got people like Bailey Rice coming off the bench as well, who I thought looked a little bit nervous at the start, but then quickly got on board with the game as well. There was a lovely moment where he was kind of pinned just outside our box. On the far away, kind of on the left-hand side, and played it in, kind of turned away from a player, maybe two players, played it really neatly, and then started a move off. And I thought, oh, that's a boy who's willing to just, stick with his talent and not just get flustered and play it out. It's nice to welcome Scott back as well. We were discussing whether we were going to free transfer you out at one point.
Man. But honestly, just do it. just do it, for goodness sake.
You're like the fashion Sakala dilemma. You'd be good as a squad member.
Oh man, don't even go there. So listen, Ufeko, I assume that's who you were speaking about. I do think he's given Michael Beale probably something he never expected over the summer, and that was a young centre half coming through the ranks to maybe be involved in the squad and potentially be someone who they could use this season if needs be. And I know, and listen, I appreciate we've got guys like Leon King, but his injury, everyone sort of knows about. I think Balogun was probably bought in thinking that he was going to be out for longer than what he actually is. And I think Ufeko is probably going to save us a bit of cash this summer, to be perfectly honest with you, Craig. He's someone who I think he's looked really, really steady in both games, particularly yesterday. I was really impressed with him. I thought he looked really good. Yeah. I don't think, and if you have spoke about Bailey Rice when I was off there, I apologise, but he was also someone who I think looks a really, really exciting prospect for us moving forward.
I think it speaks volumes to what Michael Beale brings to us as a manager. We've been crying out. You can see Barry Ferguson on your wall behind you. We've not produced enough from our academy, and that's just a fact. Michael Beale comes from a youth coach, development coach background, so that's quite refreshing. And I think it speaks volumes to the fact that these boys can come in, play a first team game, and have the confidence in their ability, and that to me is a direct reflection of how the manager treats his players and the confidence that he instills in them. When you were off air, I did say I'd like to go back to the transfer market for another defender. With Davies, I'm still jury's out for Davies and me, and if we can get money for him, if he was to be offloaded, then maybe we could spend money on a replacement. But I think we've only really got one leader in there, and that's Connor Goldson. Not sure Suter's a leader. Not sure Davies is a leader. Ufeko looks great, but you're going to feed him to the Wolves in the Champions League like we had to do with poor Leon King. Yeah. He's going to be nourished into the team, I would think. So for me, you're looking at starting 11. I'm not sure right now. For me, it's Suter and Goldson are the pairing. I would like to be in the market for a left-sided established central defender. But that's just my opinion.
Tommy, you probably spoke about this when I was off here. Did you get the impression from Beale, and I've seen the quotes attributed to him, and I think we all agree that Michael Beale's quite clever when he speaks to the press. He's clever at giving them small tidbits back and forward. Did you get the impression he was genuine that Ufeko could become a first team squad the player for this season, as opposed to going and bringing in someone? Do you think he's of the opinion that they could use him if they needed to use him? Would he use him if he needed to use him indeed?
I'm not telling you. You can watch the published version of the Ibrox pod on YouTube, like everybody else.
Entirely fair.
Listen, it's a really good question, actually. Right, the manager doesn't lose anything there.
Yeah.
To say, take the opportunity to say, oh, he's given me something to think about, right? Because Feco goes away, cloud nine. The manager believes in me. He's given me a bit of a chance. I work harder. I really put the effort in. I might have a pathway here. Other players in the academy, other players that we're trying to sign for the academy, are hearing that as well, going, oh, right, okay, this club and this manager actually means it. It's a complete win-win, because if he ends up going out and buying somebody, it's right. We just wanted to go with a bit more of an established player. John Lee will still be round about the squad. He might get the odd run out, but he's definitely one for the future. I'm definitely keeping an eye on him. It's a total win-win. Right? Do I think he was being disingenuous? Absolutely not. But I think Michael Beale's been round long enough to be cute enough to be able to understand what he's doing there, which is, I can big up a young player, I can give a positive spin to that, and I've kept my options open. Because that's all he's done. He's kept his options open. When most people might have said, no, we're going to definitely go into the market because we've got a long season ahead of us. All he's done is it's good man management for not only Ufeko, but the wider squad, and the kind of positivity around about some of the academy stuff at the moment. It's quite cute. It's good management.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. As I say, I'm a big fan of them both. I think Bailey Rice, I just think he looks like an incredible talent for such a young guy, and for him to sort of play around the pitch as what he's done the last two games. I think he's someone we should really, really be excited about. Something else that I think should be exciting us from what we've seen yesterday was the return of Tom Lawrence Craig. Quite obviously not up to a fitness standard that I think he would probably like in the first instance, but I think it was a really nice touch for Michael Beale to give him 10 minutes, a run around if you like, because there's no doubt a fit Tom Lawrence is someone who is absolutely in and around that starting 11 and bench positions week in, week out for me.
Tommy talked about that balance that needs to be achieved, and who we keep and who we bring in. We banked on Lawrence last season and then we lost him, and we never really replaced him. I think he's one of our strongest midfielders when fit and able. Great to see him back. Jury's always out. You always have that uncertainty as a fan, saying when a player's been out that length of time, what kind of version are we getting back? Same question for Hadji, right? Can he refine that form that he showed? But 10 minutes kind of indicator of where he is fitness-wise. He's part of the pre-season squad, which is great going into the season. It'll be interesting to see how quickly he comes up to speed. But, if he can find his form again, he'll be a great player for us. Hopefully that's his injury problems behind. Hopefully we can say that for a few of our players, Kamar Roof included. But nice to see him coming on. And to your point about Bailey Rice, unbelievable composure for such a young boy. Just came on and didn't look phased at all, did he? Against a German opposition who are quite handy. Bags of confidence. 16 years old. I was an idiot at 16 years old. So to show that level of maturity was just fantastic to see. So he's definitely one to watch. Very happy to see that.
Tommy, just as we end sort of things, we've got a wee while yet to go, 5 minutes or so. Spoke earlier on the pod about how this pre-season is a really exciting one for particularly bodies coming in. Michael Beale said at the end of last season that the season to follow Rangers would be barely recognisable almost. He's kept his word. I think his management of the squad pre-season and so far in the pre-season games has been really good. Craig refers to Roof. I've spoke about Tom Lawrence there as well. He's managing a huge pool of guys just now, all equally desperate to play for a variety of different reasons. It's a real testament to how well things have went this pre-season for Michael Beale. I think the fact that he can afford to give Tom Lawrence maybe 10 minutes cleverly with the sort of support, sort of egging him on when he comes on the pitch, and all that stuff is really good for the morale for the player, and I think for the squad generally. It's just that there's a different feel, I think, to this pre-season than what there has been previously.
Yeah, before that, I just want to say I'm just looking at the comments of people like Caroline and Rangers loyalists and Aldo, etc. I've got a strong suspicion you were all reprobates at 16, and I'm fairly certain about it at this point in time. So anybody who says they were nice and all that type of stuff in those comments, I don't believe it for a second. Right? Do not believe it for a second. To your point, well, yeah, the club fairly well trailed this as well. Transformation on and off the pitch. You know, like Stuart Robertson stepping aside, changes at the board level, James Bisgrove, new commercial director Karim Varane to come in August as well. Changes in the women's side, changes at the academy side. You know, Joe Potter, for example, becoming the new women's manager, and that's quite exciting in and of itself as well. You know, ex-Lioness, and then we've got the men's first team, which was revamped. You know, and I think maybe a good thing for the fans is getting Cantwell and Raskin in wasn't all right. Magic will manage to get the two headline acts in towards the end of last season, and that's it. We can then pad it out with other people. That was just the beginning. The tap getting turned on. So now it's about making those, and we spoke about this before, making big calls. Right, we're going to let Ryan Kent and Alfredo Morelos and all that, you know, leave the club. It's the right time for everybody involved. Right, best of luck with your careers. Then we're going to go after a level up of quality, and we're going to do our business relatively quietly, and we're going to do it fast, which is always one of the things you want to see. And we're going to go further than I think most people expected in terms of the checkbook, and that's before we factor in Danilo and Cifuentes, etc. And we're going to keep that positivity going through because it builds momentum. Now, ultimately, that has to translate into results at the start of the season. Right, this is now Michael Beale's team, and it's his squad, and it's going to play his way. And we've got rid of some of the players who'd let us down previously, some others in there, but they're not all bad players. No. But transformation is the word, and we have seen an absolute redraw of not only the personnel in that starting 11, but the way that we can play, the way that we will play, and then some of that tactical flexibility, driven by a board that believes in the manager, and that has been changed with its own personnel to focus in on that and some of the commercial aspects, and then do more engagement with fans as well. We've seen that. So it's positive, and it's positive up to the point of now we need to see results when we start to get into the competitive games, because that's what it all comes down to. I don't really think the board could have done much more in terms of backing Michael Beale, though. I mean, I think I would reckon, I'd be surprised if there's people in the comments, and please do put your hands up, so to speak, if there's people there saying that the board haven't went far enough, or they've not backed the manager.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Cubby's right. There's two players I think outstanding in the jigsaw. I personally think, Craig, that these two are the two that everyone widely expects. Hopefully within the next 5 days or so, Danilo and Cifuentes. I think if we bring in those two, we're in a really good place for the season. And as Tommy says, the board that backed the manager this summer, he's been given everything he could possibly need to bring some silverware back to our place this season.
Yeah, I can't disagree. The only gripe that I may have, and it's not really a gripe, is it'd be nice to hear from the new chairman. I'd like to have a sit down with him and just give us a kind of a miniature glimpse of the board long-term plan, vision. Bisgrove's been the vocal one. He looks fantastic, speaks very well. I think just got his place on the board, the SPFL. It's going to be a good one for us. Absolute necessary step in our journey. But it'd be nice to hear from Mr. Bennett at some point. But I like the cut of his jib. You know, it's actions speak louder than words, and with the actions and his backing of Beale, it's been unquestioned. Some real overhaul, not just in the playing staff, but at board level as well. So it's a real exciting time, I think, to be a Rangers fan. We should look ahead with optimism. So I like what I see. Again, I think there's 3 pieces to the jigsaw puzzle. I think I'd like to see that defender, personally. Cifuentes, obviously I'm here in the States. I may start watching more of the MLS now that Mr. Messi has entered. What a free kick from him the other night, by the way. Unbelievable. But I haven't seen a lot of him.
Been watching TAV videos.
Aye, that's what it is. That's what it is, Tommy. You know me too well. I haven't seen a lot of Cifuentes. I haven't seen a lot of Danilo, but if clubs like Feyenoord and Ajax are interested in him, then he's certainly at the right caliber. So excited to see him. Beale did reference in multiple press conferences that's just the ones that are gaining the traction in the media, that there's other players they're speaking to. So who knows? We'll see what happens. There's still a wee while to go in the window. So all optimistic in the Hart household here in Texas.
Good man. Listen, I think it's going to be a busy week generally for Rangers. Look forward to seeing what happens next. Craig, thanks for coming on. Always good to see you, my man.
Always great, mate. Thanks. It's been too long, so thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Indeed. And Tommy, always good to have you back on the airwaves, my friend. Well done.
Yeah, always good to have a chat, and my thanks always to everybody who listens and watches, and good for you to take a wee half-time nap throughout the pod there, just to make sure you can come back for the second half bright and breezy. I think that really made a difference to you. It's something we're going to have to build into the pod in future.
I think the ibuprofen's kicking in very, very, very quickly. Listen, on the podcast this week at This Is Ibrox Towers, Craig Dennett is back tomorrow night. He will give you the exclusive podcast take on the Champions League draw, which of course happens tomorrow, something which we will all very much be looking forward to. The Gantry Pod returns on Wednesday. Kyle and Craig are in for Olympiacos, so if you can't make it along to the friendly on Wednesday and you want to know exactly what it was like, join the guys post-match on Wednesday immediately after Michael Beale does his spiel with the written press and the general fan media guys that will be there on Wednesday night. Check them out if you can. Don't forget, if you are looking at us across social media, we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're also available on TikTok now for the young team, which is people of Reese's ilk, to be perfectly honest with you, and certainly no one in this call. Don't pretend otherwise. And if you are watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave us a comment, let us know what you would like us to see or do differently, which should be a laugh. But be sure to put your notifications on, and you will get a notification each time we go live. Join Craig and the squad tomorrow from 9 p.m, brand new time for the Monday warm down. Join them if you can. Thanks for watching. Good night.